The River City Wrestling Con is happening June 8th and 9th at the World Golf Village in St. Augustine, Florida. Visit RiverCityWrestlingCon.com for more information and tickets. I'm telling you right now, brothers and sisters, this is going to be the biggest and best River City Wrestling Con ever. Guests scheduled to appear include The Icon, Sting, Trish Stratus, Devon Dudley, Big Vito LaGrasso, Lita, Booker T, the Hardy Boys, and so much more. But get this, there will also be live wrestling action. Mission Pro Wrestling champion Tiffany Nieves takes on Ruthie J. We also have Scotty Sosa going to be taking on the TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace. We also have the gold medalist herself, the suplex queen herself, Tiny Thonali. She'll be in action. Once again, folks, World Golf Village, St. Augustine, Florida, June 8th and 9th, the River City Wrestling Con. RiverCityWrestlingCon.com for ticket information. Check it out. That's right.
Locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. In fact, we have the debut of a special series within Duke Loves Wrestling world. And every Sunday, you are going to hear conversations with one of the most accomplished wrestlers of all time. Someone who legitimately is one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time. Considered one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, the WWE Hall of Famer himself, our favorite brother, Devon Dudley. How you doing there, Devon?
I'm doing well. How you doing, my man?
I am doing fantastic. It is always great to touch base with you, man. It's funny. Over the past couple of months, you and I have really developed a special relationship with each other, just shooting the breeze all the time, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been an honor and a privilege to talk to somebody that actually knows what the hell they're saying.
Listen, don't put me over too much, man. You know, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and say, no, we can't stand him. Come on.
Listen, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you do everything good, somebody's still going to hate you. If you do everything wrong, they're really going to hate you. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do, and don't worry about the haters. The haters will be haters regardless.
That's right. And if they're not talking about you, then you might not be doing enough good. So there's that. I love it.
Exactly. I love it when people, you know, if they say bad things or do bad things, you know, like the dirt sheets and things like that, you guys don't get it. Even if you don't like me and you're sitting there saying bad things about me, you're helping me to stay in social media. It's like, or with this new generation of wrestling fans, it's ridiculous that they don't figure that out. And a lot of them don't like me, which is fine. But keep saying the stuff that you're saying about me, keep me in the limelight, and that's going to happen.
Absolutely, because out of sight is out of mind. So as long as they keep talking about you and what have you, you stay on folks' mind. Can't go wrong with that. I love it. I love it. Speaking of staying on folks' mind, the Dudley boys, you know, the historic, the well-accomplished, the Hall of Fame tag team that you formed with your brother, Bubba Ray Dudley. You fellas were a trending topic this past week, and, you know, for an interesting reason. On the Pod Meets World podcast, okay, this is a podcast that was developed by some of the stars of the Boy Meets World franchise, the original version. One Danielle Fishel, a.k.a. Topanga, she had the following to say, quote, I do have a real, it's kind of a secret goal. At some point in my life, I want to be put through a table in a wrestling ring, end quote. So she said that, and literally all over social media, folks latched onto that. The Dudley boys were trending. So many people were talking about it. I mean, it's a big deal. So I got to ask you, the Hall of Famer himself, one half of the Dudley boys, Devon Dudley, what do you have to say in response to Topanga?
Well, Topanga, I've been a very big fan of yours since, the TV show, and thought you were always a beautiful young lady, and you still are to this day. Most people in Hollywood who start off beautiful don't normally end beautiful, but she's done her job very well. She's, again, a fine young lady, stayed out of the media, any negative publicity. So this came as a complete shock to me when I heard about this. All I got to say is I have a training facility in Winter Park, Florida, with a ring, and we have tables. So, if she's ready to get put through a table by the Dudley boys, come on down. It'd be our honor and our pleasure to do that. Have you come down, bring the cameras, bring everything you possibly can to put it out there that the Dudley boys put you through a table. We would love to work with her and make that dream a reality. So, Topanga, if you're listening, then come on down, give us a call. Follow me on Testify Devon, Instagram and Twitter. Getting excited here. And let us know what you want to do. And we'll definitely, do what we got to do to make that dream happen.
I love it. So there you go. The gauntlet has been laid down. The challenge has been put out there. Danielle Fishel, a.k.a. Topanga, Pod Meets World. Folks, you can follow Devon at Testify Devon on your social media, Twitter and Instagram. In fact, you know what? I will send a special message to you folks as well, just to try to bridge that gap a little faster here. Let's make it happen. Bring your crew out there to Devon's school. Let's make it happen. It would be fantastic to give Topanga her ultimate dream of being put through a table, especially by the Dudley boys. I love it. Celebrities, they're just regular people, just like anybody else. And I mean, you're a celebrity, so you can attest to that and what have you here. But for you, as someone who's been a famous TV star, excellent in your field, you're a Hall of Famer and what have you, who are some celebrities that not only were you surprised to learn are wrestling fans, but who you've personally had really good experiences meeting?
The 86 Giants, the championship Super Bowl 86 Giants. Met them in New York City probably about 6 months after being in WWE. And was it Bill Banks, I think his name was? They were there at an event that we were doing, the same club that P. Diddy got in trouble for in New York City, which was right around the corner from the restaurant, the WWE restaurant at the time. And we did an autograph signing there, and just about everybody from the New York Giants 86 championship team was there. And it kind of blew me away because, I watched those guys. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I was a Jet fan, but we also, if the Jets didn't win, we also went with the Giants. So I knew who they were. And so to actually go to introduce myself and for them to tell me, I know who you are. Me and my kids, we watch you all the time. It blew my mind because you're not thinking that guys that you idolized or you looked up to or you watched would know who you were without even introducing yourself to them. So that was completely honor there. LL Cool J was another one when he came to SmackDown. And I believe this, if I'm looking correctly in my mind, where this building was, I think it was in Virginia. We did a SmackDown taping. He was promoting, I think he was promoting his album and a movie that he was doing. And WWE, of course, was helping him do that. And I remember meeting him and him being a huge wrestling fan, still kind of chilled, LL. Didn't really show excitement, but expressed it when you talked to him and how much he followed, like during the Hogan and Andre era, the Dusty Ric Flair era. I mean, he was definitely a wrestling fan. but you hear stories about this all the time. You hear about it with Mike Tyson coming into WWE, doing things with the WWF, and then coming in and expressing his love for all of the people that he's watched over the years. I mean, it's been truly an honor to meet so many people over my years that have been wrestling fans and actually showed you and told you how much of a wrestling fan they were, especially of you, the individual that they're talking to.
That's awesome. And like you said, the 86 Giants, you were talking about Carl Banks.
Carl Banks, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
He was a linebacker there. No, you were right on it there, man. And that was one of the greatest defenses of all time. I mean, they had the man literally considered one of the greatest football players of all time at any position, LT Lawrence Taylor, right?
Yep, I was about to say LT too. Yeah, he was great because, he had the experience with Bam Bam Bigelow in WrestleMania, coming out and doing his thing. So, he was a huge wrestling fan even before he did that. So, he said it was an honor for Vince at the time to have asked him to be a part of WrestleMania, how all of that went down.
And that's one of the greatest matches of all time. I mean, Bam Bam Bigelow, for a guy his size to be able to put LT in a position to look that good in a match, that was incredible.
Well, again, I mean, I don't think people gave Bam Bam the credit that he actually deserved and what he did in the ring. I mean, I noticed him really in the things that he was able to do to help people was when he was in ECW. When he was part of the Triple Threat, Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, the original Triple Threat, the original guys that held up the three fingers, which is where Bubba and I got it from. And then, of course, John Cena took it, and now Bianca Belair and Jay Caldwell, they're doing it now. So, it's amazing how, it starts way back when and still now relevant to this day.
That's right. You talk about telling the history. That's awesome. I didn't even realize that you got that from the Triple Threat. That's amazing.
Absolutely. I remember, in the very beginning, I looked at, I would see Shane Douglas. I'd be like, look, I hope you don't have offense to us using the three fingers. I was, please. And I think Bam Bam had already passed and Candido had already passed. He was like, Devon, no. He was like, it's an honor. I think anyone who gets mad or goes on social media, and I'm not saying any names, that gets mad about people using things that you might have used back in the day that made it popular, why get mad? Feel honored. Well, they didn't ask me if it was okay. Really? If they've never met you or seen you, why would they? How would they do that? Be honored that they're paying, homage to you. And I've always thought that, even with, people using 3D, the Usos, Cesaro and Sheamus during a house show one time that I was producing at that time, asked me, he's like, do you mind if we use 3D? I was like, absolutely, please, by all means, do it. Because, again, you're introducing this new generation that might not even know who the Dudleys are. But they know who Sheamus and Cesaro are. They know who the Usos are because this is their generation. So by all means, if you can introduce that to them, yes, please. It's my honor. It's my privilege. And I'm sure Bubba feels the same way. You don't knock the new generation for paying homage to yourself and what you've done over the years, because that could backfire very easily.
Sure. Again, out of sight and out of mind. If you knock the new generation for picking up the baton and carrying it, you put yourself in a position where maybe they never make reference to you. The fact that you just said that you got those three fingers from the Triple Threat, for all these young folks who are listening right now who did not grow up watching ECW, they weren't even born when it was happening, they may go back and Google what the Triple Threat is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And now you just exposed them to a whole point in time in history, right? Where they can go back and learn more about Bam Bam, learn more about Chris Candido, two great wrestlers, learn about Shane Douglas, who at one time, he was one of the best wrestlers. In fact, I think he was Rookie of the Year when he first broke into the business.
Not only that, but on the mic, I mean, he really developed his craft
Sure.
in ECW. He didn't he had his falling outs and whatever happened in WWE when he was the dean, but when he left there and pretty much went to ECW, Paul Heyman gave him the privilege to be able to go out there and be Shane Douglas. And that's exactly what he did. He was able to go out there and really, create that character. And it was probably at that time during an ECW, probably one of the most hated villains next to the Dudleys at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hated so much that he ended up becoming beloved.
Yes.
Just like the Dudleys. That's an irony in that there. Folks, definitely don't hesitate. Go out of your way to check out some of Shane Douglas's stuff, especially from those ECW years. He made the promo that sparked the revolution, where it went from, an NWA affiliate to a standalone. Remember that. It's funny when we think about these moments in history and how it can affect what happens going forward. One move that the WWE made, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Devon. They decided a few years back that they were going to start doing business in Saudi Arabia. And that was at a time where they received a lot of criticism for that. You don't want to do business with them, and how can you do that? And, politically it may not be good, and that might hurt business, and yada, 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 all these naysayers and what have you, despite the fact that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in terms of a nation, they have been an ally with the United States for years and years and years. When you go back, you look at that history, they legitimately are one of our strongest allies, and we make a lot of money doing business with them as a country. But you want to criticize a company for doing business with them. That never really made sense to me. But it was a shrewd business move that the WWE made. And WrestleNomics, Brandon Howard Thurston III, he has that brand, and I want to shout them out. Folks, definitely check their stuff out on social media. They have a podcast you can listen to. Brandon does a lot of hard work in analyzing the economics of pro wrestling, especially WWE, since it's a publicly traded company. WrestleNomics put together a graphic in which they showed how much money WWE has made in the 40-year history of WrestleMania. So they gathered a lot of information from various sources here, and it says every WrestleMania ticket sale ever in its 40-year history, adjusted for inflation, WWE has made about $338 million. Okay, that's the estimate on that. In 40 years of WrestleManias, all ticket sales and what have you. In comparison, since 2018, when WWE has been going over to Saudi Arabia and hosting these events, which are sponsored by the government of Saudi Arabia, there's been 11 of these events. $550 million have already been raised from going over to Saudi Arabia since 2018 of putting on these events. So, that's over $200 million more from 11 events as opposed to WrestleMania, which in over 40 years, they've gotten an estimated $338 million. I want to ask you, Devon, just what are your thoughts about that? Do you feel that WWE made the right move starting to do these events over in Saudi Arabia?
My thing is, why not? We're not at war with Saudi Arabia, so if the Saudis have all that money that they're willing to burn for us to come over there and to entertain the people of Saudi Arabia, why not? I thought we were in the business of making money, not holding grudges about what you think you know. So why not go over there and make some money? Why not go over there and be able to feed your families and to make history with numbers like that? I mean, look, WrestleMania did an excellent job over the years, over the 40 WrestleManias that we've had. But look at the little bit of shorter time that we've been in Saudi Arabia, the money that we've made over there. I mean, think of the payday when people have come in who were past legends and made one huge payday just off that one night being in Saudi Arabia. Hell, I wish I would have, One person I read somewhere, and it was about the whole Vince McMahon thing that's going on. Got on somebody, and I got to try to make this this statement accurate. I'm almost positive when I say this. This is exactly what was said. They basically got on the person that basically worked for the company during Vince's time, and when a question was asked about Vince McMahon, you know, the person said, you know, well, I don't have any ill feelings towards Vince. If these accusations are true, then yes, he needs to pay for his actions. In other words, he needs to go through whatever he's going through. But if it's not, then he needs to be vindicated and get out of this. So my thing, but the one, and then somebody said, well, you know, you would say that about this guy because you worked for him and this and that. You didn't care about the money when he was raping all of these people. Number one, we don't know about these allegations, whether they're true or not. It still hasn't been to trial yet. Everybody's waiting and anticipating, you know, biting their fingernails, hoping to get the actual truth on what's going on. No one has that thought yet, but you can't knock somebody for working for someone who made them money to help feed their family, put food on the table, clothes on their backs. I mean, that person that said that got on the person for not wanting to bury Vince and said, oh, well, I guess not. I mean, you took his money and blah, blah, blah. And if you were in that position, you would have done the same thing as well. You would have taken the money. Even in those accusations at that time weren't even out yet. These accusations are brand new. So whatever was done in the past, we didn't know about it. You know, we're working for the company of the WWE. That was our dream. Anybody who's been in the wrestling business or has watched the wrestling business and wanted to be a part of it, your ultimate dream was to work in the WWE. I don't care who you are. That's what you wanted. And if you say you didn't, you're lying. I'm not saying you didn't want to go to Japan or WCW or any other places, but the ultimate goal was the WWE. That's the grandfather of them all. It's foolish to put it on somebody in terms of saying because you took the money in the past, because he paid you a good amount of money, so of course you're going to defend him. No. Wait until the accusations are proven without a shadow of a doubt, and then make those assumptions. So leave the WWE alone, going over there and wanting to make money and provide for the company as well as the talent that's over there. You know, they opened their doors to us and they have welcomed us with open arms. And the one thing I love about the Saudis is that they love nostalgia. They love the older wrestlers because that's what built this company today, was the blood, sweat, and tears in the back of yesterday's wrestlers. So, you know, before you fans sit up there and make these comments and say the things that you say, understand what's going on. Understand the business aspect. It's not just what you see on TV, but it's all the stuff that's behind the scenes as well. Get your facts straight and know what's going on before you open your mouth. And that's the sad part about today on social media.
Well said. Well said. And I mean, listen, I'll piggyback a little bit on that there. There's a big difference between rumors and blind items as opposed to someone literally bringing a lawsuit, putting their name on it, pursuing legal action. And even there's a difference between a lawsuit and a conviction. So no one is out here trying to defend or make excuses or anything like that. Certainly not. But I will say this. In the United States of America, we have a constitution that says everyone is innocent until proven guilty.
But you were going there with that, but I have to say this, and you and I both know, in the United States, that is not the case here. You are guilty until you are proven innocent. And that seems to be the key always here in the United States. With that being said, you know, again, I'm not defending at all anything that has been alleged about the man. I'm just saying, let it go through the court system first. Let it be proven before you make these accusations and before you condemn people. Then and only then will you be justified in what you're saying verbally.
Well said. Well said. And I agree 100%. Again, you know, how would you want to be treated? That's what I always say. You know, if you're in a position and you're saying something is true or something is not true, how would you want to be treated? And that should apply to how you treat others and how you look at others. And, I'll leave it there. Certainly, next time we get together, Devon, we'll definitely talk about King and Queen of the Ring, the latest event happening in Saudi Arabia. It's going to be an exciting event. People are very excited about that to see what happens next, because the winner of King of the Ring and the winner of Queen of the Ring will get the title shot at SummerSlam. So, stakes are high.
I think it's great. The King of the Ring has always been, in my opinion, a pay-per-view that hasn't really given the right, what's the word I'm looking for, publicity that it should be, because it's been known in history that if you won the King of the Ring and now the Queen of the Ring, you were going to be pushed to the moon. That was your ticket to saying, okay, this person is now the person that we're going to put the rocket on, and we're going to fly him out there and see what goes on. That is such a huge pay-per-view. Just the fact that, it's taking place and it's out in another country by any means. I mean, that's huge, and I can't wait to see the numbers. I can't wait to get the reaction from the fans and just the world in general. WWE is doing great things, and it's no secret. I've always been a WWE guy and an ECW guy, and I said this last time on your podcast. That has always been my home. Even when we said farewell to the Dudleys on Monday Night Raw after our second run, I made it clear that the WWE is my home, and it will always be my home. So yes, to all the AEW strong hearts, yes, it is my home. It is the place where I grew up watching pro wrestling, and it's the place that I'd love to end my career in. A lot of AEW fans don't understand that it's got to be AEW. Yes, AEW is a good organization. I love the talent that's there. But for me, I've never worked for them. So I don't know what that organization is all about. I do know the organization that I do know, which is the WWE, and very happy that I've been a part of them for over 20 years, whether it been talent or whether it had been a producer. I had a tremendous time there, and hopefully that time will continue. We'll see what happens. But in that aspect, and that's as a producer, that is as a producer. The WWE is a young man's sport now, so I can't get my old butt in that ring no more and play with those guys. I mean, I could, but I don't think the people want to see that as much. Besides, I wouldn't want to take anything away from the younger talent. Again, I would love to help out as much as I can, whether it be in the ring to help them with their matches to get over, or definitely as a producer for them. I had so much fun as a producer in WWE. I can only imagine what it would be like being under the ruling of Paul Levesque, Triple H.
Well said. Well said. And listen, you brought it up. This is a great transition here, because I did want to get your thoughts on this. AEW, they continue to have these challenges with their ratings. And, folks, full disclosure, that I am one of the people who have led the charge pointing out that the Nielsen ratings are not completely accurate. They have a small sample size of people that they get their information from. They have lost their accreditation in the past because they were not accurately counting black and brown households. I've been on the record on that. I was actually a Nielsen household myself, so I could speak from experience on how that goes. But with that said, Tony Khan, who's a big numbers guy, he's a big analytics guy, he has always pointed out that his key audience, the folks that he's trying to attract the most, are the key demo, and they're primarily, who's the quote-unquote key demo? They're white males. So there's no challenge there in terms of being, inaccurate with how many people are watching AEW, because you're getting that information correctly. They never mess up that information. And Unfortunately for AEW, this past Wednesday, their flagship show Dynamite, it did 713,000 viewers on average. Now, that's up from the previous week, which was only 672,000 viewers. But currently they're in bad shape, man. I mean, when you compare where they were just a year ago, in May, 847,000 viewers is what they were averaging a year ago. So they're down about 17% because they're only pulling in about 700,000 on average for the month of May. And in quarter two, they're only averaging about 727,000 as opposed to 855,000 viewers in quarter two of 2023. So that's a 15% drop there. All of this is according to WrestleNomics. Once again, I'm plugging them. Check out their podcast. Check out their social media, WrestleNomics there. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Devon. At a time in the wrestling industry where WWE is making money hand over fist, they are actually expanding partnerships everywhere. Everyone wants WWE on their television networks. Everyone wants to do business with them. They got a show on Twitter called Speed. So they're doing all these innovative things here. AEW continues to drop. They continue to lose market share, lose viewership, and what have you. What do you think of that, just from a general standpoint there, Devon?
Well, wrong time, wrong place for Tony Khan to make the analogy about AEW being the Pepsi of the pro wrestling business and WWE being the Harvey Wallstein, however you say his name. It was the wrong time. And, I grant you, because of somebody who once owned the company, who no longer works in the company or owns or has any shares in it no longer, and they've done a great job in trying to erase all of that, there was no need to bring that up. Now, to me, if you ask me, I think it actually backfired in his face for saying that, because now look at what WWE is doing and look at what his show is doing. Now, who's the Pepsi of the wrestling business? Although I like Coca-Cola, but still, who's the Pepsi of the wrestling business now, if you want to say that? The numbers don't lie. Can AEW, and I was thinking about this because I heard a podcast, can AEW, you have WWE who does back-to-back sold-out events at WrestleMania and then goes and does Monday Night Raw, the arena right next door to it, and sells out there. Can AEW do that? Can you do 80,000 2 nights in a row, 80,000 plus, whatever the number was in Philadelphia, back to back at WrestleMania? Can AEW go do that twice in a row and then go to Monday Night Raw and fill up that arena where they had to make the screen a little smaller on the Titantron just to add more seats to sell more tickets, and sold it out? They're doing great numbers. They're doing great things. Instead of worrying about taking shots at the WWE, maybe you should concentrate on your in-house. Maybe you should concentrate on the inmates running the asylum, because there seems to be a lot of turmoil going on within the company where certain people aren't happy. How about fixing that first before you start making cracks at somebody else? And again, I like AEW. I think it's great. Every business, football business, basketball, baseball, NHL, we all need competition. Competition is great. Competition is what's going to keep the WWE on their toes, and vice versa. So as long as you're trying to outdo each other in a fair and respectful way, then it's good for business, because you're going to always try to top it. And that means you're going to give the people great entertainment, which is great across the board. But the minute you start name bashing and doing all of that crap, it's going to come wind up biting you in the behind. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what I'm seeing right now. There was no need to say that. It was the wrong platform to do it on, especially at the NFL draft. What were you thinking? And again, I met Tony Khan on 3 separate occasions, and he's not a bad guy. I just think that he doesn't have the right people in order. Look, I don't know who's running the asylum in terms of the in-house. I don't know. But all I know is if you don't have wrestling minds, great wrestling minds that have made money, made history, and that has done things in this business to produce history and to make people know that that company is going places, you're not going to make it. It's just as simple as that. I'm sorry. You know, you had Pat Patterson and Vince is there. You know, Michael Hayes, Triple H, the list goes on. You had students of the game that has made money and has done things that has been able to create history and things that we still talk about to this day. You know, I don't see that on that side. Not people that have made money or made history like they have on the WWE side. So again, what are you bringing to the table by listening to people that haven't done that? You got to stop doing that. I mean, that's that. I think that first and foremost. And again, I think everybody wants to see AEW succeed. I think everybody wants them to definitely be in direct competition with WWE because everybody, you know, knows how much fun it was to flip back and forth from your TV sets when WCW was going at it with WWE during the Monday Night Wars. It was a good time back then. Business was up. People were happy. They were entertained. You know, whether it be Devon get the tables, you know, what's up, or, you know, D-Generation X suck it, or, you know, rest in peace. It doesn't matter. We were entertained. We knew the catchphrases. We knew the people. We knew the people from the opening match to the main event to the close of the match. And that's what you have to have nowadays. So Tony needs to concentrate on how to get that company back to where it once was when it first started, because it seems like the helium has been let out of the balloon. And it's a shame because you have so much talent in that company that are great. And again, I said this on your podcast before. If you had somebody like Paul Heyman over there running it and doing it, there's no telling where that company would be right now. He would have everything in order, everything, just like he did ECW. He took a bunch of nobodies that nobody wanted in ECW at the time when WCW and WWE were in existence. Nobody wanted us. He took us and made us into somebody. He did what nobody else could. Can you imagine what he could do with a company like AEW? And all of the diehard AEW fans, you could sit there and disagree with me all I want and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I've been around this business over 30 years. I've seen the ups and I've seen the downs. I've been behind the scenes. I've been in front of the scenes. You're looking at it from your TV set at home. I'm looking at it from a business aspect of it. Look at what Paul Levesque did with NXT. He took nobodies that were on the indies and made them into somebody. You need minds like that that's going to be able to turn that place around and make it what it should be, because there's no reason in hell why that company should be doing those type of ratings with the talent that they have. Oh my God, it is incredible, the talent that they have. So they should be able to do things the way they should in terms of being on top of the world. Right now, they just aren't.
It's true. You know, you kind of sparked an interesting discussion that's happening right now, and starting to notice a trend here, because you talked about meeting with Tony Khan and AEW officials 3 separate times, and just how inconsistent and bizarre the whole experience was there. On his podcast, and I'm going to do another plug here, an old friend of yours, Bill Alfonso, he has something called the Right Down the Middle podcast that he just recently debuted. And on his second episode, he talked about the fact that he had met QT Marshall at an event, and QT, on behalf of AEW, said something to Fonzie. In fact, I'm going to read the quote from Fonzie here. Quote, "So I was doing a show for CCW, and QT Marshall was on the show. He came up to me and he said, 'Fonzie, I'm QT Marshall. I'm kind of an agent. I work for Tony Khan. Your name came up in production meetings.' I said, 'Well, what do I do?' Do I call Tony? He said, no, just hold on. Just hold on. I said, okay. Nothing happened. A month later, I see QT Marshall again, and he says, Fonzie, your name came up again in a production meeting at AEW. I said, wow, that's great. So what's that? What do I have to do? He said, hold tight. Let's see what happens. So I'm holding tight. End quote here. So here we go again, where AEW officials are speaking to folks with name value, and for lack of a better term, it almost feels like you're stringing people along. But at the end of the day, there's really nothing of substance that is coming out of this. I wonder, Devon, do you know QT Marshall?
Well, he trained at my school in 2008, I believe it was, or maybe even 2009. He trained for a little bit until Bubba threw him out. I do recall him being there, and his attitude and demeanor was not very light. And there was a couple of times where I had to not physically restrain him, but, ask Bubba, please don't do anything crazy. Don't knock this boy in his head and this and that, because you're going to kill him if you do that. And because at the time, a lot of people back then thought he was a little pompous kid. And, I kind of saw certain things, but I kind of ignored it, because back then I wasn't the type of person like to call people out on certain things. But, I never really had a problem with him up until recently. He was the one, exactly what Fonzie said is exactly what happened with me. In other words, my sons reached out to me. I never, ever had any desire to go to AEW. I know when I was at my ends with WWE at the time, working with Vince, I was stressed out. I just wasn't happy. I had asked, was there any producer's role? And I was told no. And I was like, all right, not a problem. I was like, I'm not going to jeopardize my job with the WWE to go somewhere else and, not get what I'm, rightfully deserve. And so some time had went by. I think it had to be about maybe a good almost 6 months. And I basically got a phone call and a text from my sons, Terrence and Terrell, TNT, saying, Dad, QT Marshall wanted me to get in touch with you because they were talking about bringing us in and having you as our manager. And I remember saying to the boys, this was at the time I had said I was not going back in the ring. I said, well, you do know that I don't want to wrestle anymore, that I don't know if I can physically handle it anymore. And this was right after I had the stroke, and then it was like, might have been just after the back surgery. And I was like, I thought I was done. I really thought I was done at that point. But the rehab and all of that did really wonders for me. And now, of course, I got to plug this guy. DDP Yoga is incredible. We can get on that later. But I told my sons, I said, I don't know if I want to do that full 10. I said, we have to sit down and talk. So they went back to QT and they said, my dad said he would be interested, but he needs to talk to you first before anything. And so they said, all right, have your dad, tell him I said, let's talk in Orlando. We're going to be in Orlando, where TNA used to do their television show, same soundstage, everything. And I said, okay. I said, so I went and I went down to Orlando, spoke to QT, and says, yeah, Tony, we have this idea to bring you in as a manager for the boys and, help get them over. I said, like Billy Gunn is doing his sons. And he says, yes. I said, okay. And I said, that's great. I said, I don't mind doing that. I said, just as long as you guys know, I'd rather be a producer. I don't want to wrestle. I just rather be a producer. But if you want me to come and help out my sons, then I'll do that. I have no issues with that. But I am not trying to get in that ring full time and go hard like I used to. And he said, okay. He said, no, I completely understand that. We don't want that. We just want you to come in and help the boys out. I said, perfect. And if you want me to do that, then that's a done deal. And he was like, yeah, he was like, we're going to speak with Tony later on tonight. He's doing a couple of, the show is going on now. He's actually on headset now. So when we're done, we're going to take a break and then we'll meet with Tony. I said, okay, fair enough. So I'm waiting and catering, waiting, nothing. Finally, I get up, I walk inside the sound stage, and I look around saying hello to everybody that I hadn't seen in a long time. People were asking me what's going on. I said, well, they wanted to meet with me, so I don't know what's happening right now. I said, well, we'll see. Went over, QT brought me over to Tony. Tony gets up and he says, hey, Devon. He's like, how you doing, man? It's great seeing you. I haven't seen you in years. He was like, I'm a little different now. I'm all grown up. I was like, yeah, I see that. I said, you're all grown up with a lot of money now behind you. And he kind of laughed and this and that. And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, listen, I'll let you get back to doing what you're doing. We're going to talk later, correct? Oh, yeah, we're going to definitely talk later. I said, okay, not a problem. That took place, and that incident just happened. So I was like, all right. So I'm waiting. And then QT comes to me and goes, hey, Tony's just really busy right now. He was like, maybe we can talk later. I said, look, that's fine. I was like, anything that's going to help my sons out, I'm all for it. He says, all right, great. He was like, what are you looking to make? So I told him, and he was like, all right, I don't see anything unreasonable about that. I said, you're handling this? He goes, yeah, pretty much. I'm kind of like the, leeway into it. I was like, all right. I said, this is what I would like. And I said, I'm not asking for anything crazy. I just want to be here to help my sons out. He says, okay, yeah, deal enough. He goes, I like it. He was like, okay, I'm going to go back and talk to Tony, and then I'll call you back. I'll call you later on this week. I said, okay. So I waited, nothing. So I was talking to the boys, my sons, because they were going down to their training facility. And QT was heading the training facility with Billy Gunn. And I trust Billy, so I wanted, even when my sons moved to Georgia, I wanted them to have full capability of a great mind in the business like Billy Gunn. Because Billy, like I said before in your podcast, he helped run my school when Bubba and I were on the road a lot. And so with that being said, I was very happy that they were going down to that school working with Billy Gunn. I let 2.5 weeks go by. I didn't hear anything. So I contacted QT and I was like, hey, QT, I was like, what's going on? You guys still want to do business or not? Let me know. Oh, yeah, well, we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. We're still waiting on Tony. I said, all right, whatever. I was like, you just let me know. And that was it for that. And about a month and a half went by. Me and my sons were talking, and I said, had anything occurred? He was like, no, not at all. I'm like, let me give QT a quick text and see if this is on the table or not. Because if not, then I'm just going to make plans. I'm not going to, do anything that's going to be in a waiting pattern for me. I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, and that's it. And so I text him again. I said, hey, I was like, any news yet? And he goes, no, nothing yet. He was like, but, give me your availability and things like that. I said, okay, I'm booked pretty much every week. I was like, but I'll send it to you. So I sent it to him. And it started kind of like a little beef with my sons and I, because he went back to my sons and said, your dad keeps calling me, keeps texting me and all that. Blah. And I'm like, I told my son, I said, wait a minute. I said, the man is asking me to come into the company and to help you guys out. That's the only reason why I entertain this stuff. I said, other than that, I can care less about going to AEW. I said, if I do go to AEW, it'll be because of you two. No other reason. I said, because if anything, I'd rather go back to WWE. I said, that's my home, not AEW, not Tony Khan. And my son was like, no, I understand. And I was like, the thing about it is, I'm not sure QT gets off on saying this, that I'm bugging him. I was like, you contacted my sons to get in touch with me to come in to the company to help them out. And now you're saying that I'm bothering you? And I'm like, are you serious right now? I was like, damn it, I should have let Bubba whoop your ass when he wanted to. But I didn't say anything like that. I kept to myself. And some time went by, and then I remember talking to my agent at the time, who was good friends with Tony, and I said, "Do me a favor, find out if any of this is legit." And I told him everything I just told you, and he says, "I'll talk to him about it and see what happens." I said, "Okay." So he talked to him. He says, and Tony told him, he says, "Yes, let's meet with Devon in Montreal." We did want to talk to him, but I'm not sure what happened with that. And I said, "I'll tell you what happened. QT Marshall happened." And my agent goes, yeah, but he wants to meet now. So I said, okay. So we met in Montreal, and it seemed like a very positive and good meeting. And then, I gave some ideas what I would like, but he kept pursuing the fact that he wanted me to wrestle. Even after I told him, I said, "I'm not really interested in wrestling like that. I'll come in, do a couple of things like with my sons. I said, but I'm not really interested in doing that. I was like, but I'd rather be a producer." And he says, "Well, right now we don't have any producers roles open." He was like, "But I'll be more than happy to, check and see what's going on." I said, "Okay." I said, "Not a problem." I said, "We could do that." I said, "You just let me know." I said, "But understand, I don't want to go full time. I just want to be like a manager / 6-man tag. Anything like that is good." I said, "But not, full-time wrestling." "Not a problem at all. You're good to go." "Yeah, we're good. We're good. Thank you." I even told him, I said, "Let me go around and help out with like ambassadorship, like going around when you need somebody to help plug the company. I can go down there and help you. I can go down and go to these places, sign autographs, and do whatever you want me to do to help do this with you." And he pretty much says, "I thought it was a great idea." "Oh, yeah, it's great." And I said, "Also, I have a training facility in Winter Park. So if you need somebody to have extra training without being like one-on-one type of training," I said, send him to me in Winter Park, and I'll work with him." "Oh, I think that's fantastic. Great. I love it." I'm like, "All right, great." We shook hands, and that was it. Thought the meeting went good. Then he was like, "Let's meet in Orlando." So it was another show in Orlando. And I said, "Okay, let's do that." And I was like, "Why do we need to have a third meeting?" I was like, the second one went pretty good. So why not just go off of that? But I didn't say anything. So we met in Orlando, and I basically was told at that point, "We really don't have anything as a producer and blah, 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 but I'll get you some dates to bring your sons in, and, we'll get some dates for you to clear your schedule. And, if you can do it, that'd be great. And then we can get your boys rocking and rolling." And I was like, "All right, fantastic." But yet, when he told me there was no producer's role available, he had already hired 3 people that I know of in that producer's role, which I was very happy for them. But at the same token, don't lie to me. And when you go and hire people that I know, but I said, "Remember, I didn't come to you asking for a job. You came to me asking me to come to your company with my sons because you were talking about getting my sons in. I wasn't even thinking about you guys, nor were you on my radar." And all of a sudden, this goes down, and then nothing happened. And so I called my agent, and I said, "Hey, listen," I was like, "What's going on with this thing with Tony?" He was like, "I don't know. Let me check." And it always seemed to be like there was a runaround. So finally I said, "Look, Terrence and Terrell," I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "I can't deal with business with this man." I was like, "He's all over the place. He doesn't have the right people guiding him or helping him. I can't be a part of this." I was like, "I'm sorry, I really am." I said, "But I'm going to have to decline on this." And I told my agent, I said, "If they come to you, give you dates, tell them I said thank you, but no thank you. I'm not interested anymore." And I walked away.
That is as detailed a telling of a story as you're going to get, folks. And again, this is somebody who is speaking from firsthand experience. This isn't rumors. This isn't he said, she said. This is legitimately, this is what happened. I was there. This is
Yeah.
what happened.
And if Fonzie is saying this, and I believe it because it was done to me, don't come again. You're having people that work within your organization that is talking on your behalf, but yet that shouldn't be, and they should not be in the position that they're in. This is why the company is not going to make it as far, because you got to stop this nonsense. You got to stop the growing pains in order for you to get ahead and to be even in any way, shape, or form directly in competition with the WWE. You got to clear house. You got to do what you got to do to get people that know what they're saying and know what they're doing and how to handle business correctly.
Well said. Well said. My goodness gracious. Listen, folks, Devon Dudley, like he said before, there was a period in his life where he didn't like calling people out. He was trying to take a different path. He's learned through experience that sometimes, you know what, you just got to stand firm and just say the thing. And certainly here on these special conversations, you're going to hear Devon Dudley like you've never heard him before. Say the things, okay? Unfiltered, straight to the point, no games. Still a gentleman, though, when he says it, which I appreciate there. You have a way with words, Devon, that folks really enjoy. We've gotten such a tremendous response since you've been coming on the show here, and it's pretty cool there. You know, in fact, what's the best way people can reach out to you, Devon, if they want to follow you personally and what have you?
Well, they can go to Testify Devon on Instagram. I just started going back to Twitter a little bit here and there, not too much, but I'm really on Instagram a lot. So you can inbox me there. And all you AEW fans out there that like to hate on people that don't agree with everything that you hate, sure, you can come on my Instagram and talk too. But again, I'm not sitting up there burying the company. I'm just sitting up there saying that we want to see the company succeed. We want to see them become either the number two company, or I don't think they'll ever be number one, because again, WWE has been around for so long and has held that position for so long. I just don't see it happening. But we would love to see you in direct competition with the company. But you have to clean your in-house first. You got to clean in-house first in order to make that happen. That's all we're saying. So let these guys the talent that's in AEW, let them shine the way they should. Because you have some great talent there. Let them shine. Let them be who they are. Give them good storylines. Give them great matches. And let them flourish the way they should. And I guarantee you will have that. So sure, we can talk about that. And, love to, shoot the shit or what have you with you guys. So again, Testify Devon on Instagram and Testify Devon on Twitter.
Monday is Memorial Day. I know that you're a person who has never been shy expressing yourself about our veterans and your love and appreciation for them. So do you have anything to add about Memorial Day?
Absolutely. It's a day to celebrate the fallen soldiers and the people that are in the special services now, not just hot dogs and hamburgers and going to the beach and doing all of that, but really pay tribute to those who have allowed you to be able to enjoy that type of freedom, as opposed to just using it as a holiday where you can drink and eat. You wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't give their lives and sacrifice. Think about even the people that have survived the wars who come home and they are not mentally right because of what they've seen or what they've done. But yet we take advantage of what we do every single day and not think about those who have fallen or who was hurting in that sense, whose family is going through what they're going through because their loved ones have come back from the wars and they just aren't the same. Let's give praise to those guys, and honor them in a way that they should be honored. And again, not through alcohol and hot dogs and hamburgers, but honor them the right way. Every time you see a soldier or what have you, or someone who's been in the special forces, or I should say special services, give them a salute, shake their hand, tell them thank you. Because without them, you would not be here right now enjoying the lifestyle that you have.
Well said. Well said. That is the Hall of Famer, Devon Dudley, showing love to our veterans. Great guy here. Listen, Devon, as always, man, I enjoy touching base with you and the fact that we can share this with the world like we're doing, man. It's very, very special. And folks, every Sunday you can check us out here. Special editions of the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. I think for now we're going to just call it Devon and the Duke. We'll be talking about current stories in wrestling, and also Devon will open up and share about his experiences in general there. So it's good stuff there. But until next time, folks, this is the Duke signing off. Devon, give us the last word.
Oh, testify.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.